Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Welcome to New Life Live. This is Larry Sonnenburg. I'm sitting in for Steve Arterburn today, and I have next to me Dr. Sheri Keffer. Hi, Sheri.
Hey, Larry. It's good to be with you and all you listeners today.
Yeah, and Dr. Alice Benton.
Hi, everybody.
Well, I want to give a shout out to someone named Carmen. We have a engineer.
Who's now shaking her head
Don't say it. Don't say it.
We have an engineer who's been doing this radio show for 20 years, and he took a trip. He's in Scotland. And who else would we call but our webmaster and person that does everything technical for us, but Carmen, to come in and fill in, and she's done a great job, even though she doesn't feel well. So thank you, Carmen.
She's got her Wonder Woman mug back there. So I told her this morning, I said, that helps, just grabbing that Wonder Woman mug.
Okay, I want to read to you an email that's going to go out today. And if you're not on our email list, I want you to hear this because it's an important announcement. As you're considering your year-end giving, I'm thrilled to announce a $168,700 dollar-for-dollar matching gift. This means for every dollar you give, another dollar will be given to the ministry, up to $168,700. So as we approach Christmas and year-end, I just want to say thank you. Thank you in advance for your year-end gift that will be doubled. And you can, you'll be able to go online and do it. You can call the call center and do it. You can send something to us here in Lake Forest and do it. But please be sure to designate your gift for the matching challenge. And we ask you to give as soon as you can. The challenge needs to be matched by December 31st. You know, it's incredibly touching to look into someone's eyes whose life is forever different and see a twinkle and a sparkle that wasn't there, but for God's Spirit living in them and their responsiveness to what they see, hear, and experience through new life. Relationships are restored, struggles with individual issues are better, and hope is alive. Together with you, one person at a time, we're making a difference. You know, a woman recently told me, I just want to thank you. My husband is a different man because of every man's battle, and our daughters will have a much different Christmas this year because he's loving them and caring for them in ways he never did before. So thanks from the bottom of my heart and all of us here at New Life for responding to the needs of hurting, struggling people through your gift to New Life, where one at a time, lives are forever changed. So we're really excited about that. This started from the ground up. 3 different people called, and asked, I want to make a gift, but I want it to be matched. Do you have a matching gift? And we didn't. So we said we would find one. And then after the third one, I thought, well, maybe God's speaking to us here. So we talked to some donors who give every year at year-end faithfully, and asked if they would mind their gift becoming a matching challenge. And they pulled together, it came up to this figure of $168,700.
That's so great.
So if you can give, please give. And it doesn't matter the amount. You know, we love gifts of every size. $5 is 10, and 10 is 20, and 2,000 is 4,000. Whatever you can give, we're just grateful.
And you know what it does here at New Life when you give, it's really priceless because there's no amount of money that you put on a changed life. You know, we see it all the time. We see marriages that are just at the brink of despair, and we see them come back to life when they start learning how to treat each other different. They start dealing with the pain of their past, and they start finding hope again. And so that's just priceless to me. It's, you know, you can't put a ticket on that.
You're absolutely right. And hope is, you know, it's everything. And we're not here just to give hope. We're here to give hope through practical ways that you can address things that make your life different. So give us a call, 800-229-3000. We'll be back after the break and talk to you.
Now back to New Life Live.
Okay.
Oh, we're having too much fun.
Welcome back.
Very ornery.
No,
Yes.
say your story real quickly about the coffee.
Alice asked if I drink coffee every morning. I said, I've never tasted coffee. And she said, why? Well, when I was in college, I worked at a real estate office, and these realtors would come in first thing in the morning, and they were the most mean, cantankerous, just kind of ornery people. And they drank coffee, and they became nice people. And so Sheri said, well, you're just going to be ornery all the time.
No, what you said is that Alice said, so why don't you do it? And he said, because I don't want to be that way. And then I said, well, you just want to be cantankerous all the time.
And I'll give in to that. That's true. Just ask Rhonda.
Now you know what you need. Just a little coffee every now and then, right?
Okay.
Larry,
we
love you.
Thank you. We're going to go and talk right away to Linda. Linda is a WAVA listener in Arlington, Virginia. How can we help you, Linda?
I am struggling with which question to ask, but basically I am in a marriage of almost 30 years that the last 16 years have been challenged with my husband having some tremendous mental health challenges. And I have 5 children from 5 to 24, and all of my children have different mental health challenges of their own stemming from my husband's mental health challenges. And for years, he would not get help. And we had a situation about a year and a half ago where things really reached a crux to where one of my children actually assaulted my daughter. One of my sons assaulted my daughter, and I had to do a protective order. So I'm trying to focus on, I don't know how to put my family back together. I don't know if I should work on the marriage. I'm just trying to see what is the best route to go to get everyone the help that they need post the issues that we've been dealing with my husband.
What have you done thus far? Have you had counseling? Anybody help you in any way?
So I have been through therapy programs with my husband, and then he will get to a place of denial. I actually, when I had to do the protective order a year and a half ago, my husband left the area. Then he went into treatment. Then he checked himself out, made some threats to the family. I had to do a protective order against him. So at this point, myself and my younger 4 children, which are 5 through 21, we've been trying to mend, going through different group therapy sessions and individual therapy, but each of them have anything from anxiety challenges to trust challenges, depression. I've even in the last couple of years just been able to start dealing with the issues that I have realized I was suppressing, trying to keep the family together and help everybody else.
But you know what? What are the behaviors that your husband's done? It feels like they've been pretty bad. Can you just describe some of what he does for us?
So I have a lot of friends and relatives that listen to this program, but I'll just say he's been diagnosed with anything from paranoia to schizophrenia to bipolar. He's been convinced that we have been under surveillance. And so living with him means light fixtures that are still out of the wall and internet that's locked down and just all the other trauma. I mean, it's just I'm hard to go into details because I'm just concerned that someone may be listening. But it's been the paranoia.
But you know what? Do you know what's happening, Linda? His paranoia is actually leaking out on you. That's what happens when we live with somebody who has got severe mental illness like schizophrenia or paranoia. And in a way, I'm curious as to why you're working so hard to keep your family together when right now it feels so unsafe. It's as if you're trying to take care of a paranoid schizophrenic and your house is a hospital ward, like a mental hospital ward, and your kids are being impacted by it too. It's not safe to live in your home.
Okay, so my husband is actually by force because I had to do a protective order. He is actually out of the home now.
Okay.
And my oldest son, he had to be removed from the home because he physically assaulted his younger sister. And so when I say keep my family together, even just myself and the other 4 children, and trying to, like, my daughter loves her oldest brother, she loves her dad, but she also cries because I'm trying to help her even work through her anxiety. And how does forgiveness actually look when you've been, my son that actually hit her, that was the first time a physical assault had taken place, but we have had years of just emotionally tearing her down. And that child in himself had his own mental health issues, but my husband was just never willing to get any of the children the help that anybody needed. And I now understand hindsight. I didn't know he was in as bad of a state as he was. And so when I say keep my family together, my marriage, I haven't given up on it, but right now I've had to focus on myself and my children as far as our mental and emotional stability. But maybe I used the wrong word, but that's what I mean when I say trying to keep my family together, just trying to get us through this season and even trying to figure out what am I even trying to get us to.
Linda, I want to praise you because you've taken some very difficult steps to protect your younger children and yourself from both your husband and your son. And I cannot imagine the heartbreak of having to pursue the protective order or having to take those steps to get your husband out of the home. You must be holding on by a thread at times, although I hear a whole lot of strength in your voice. And the fact that you continue to pursue therapy for you and all your family, you're absolutely on the right track with that. And what I hope that there's room for with you and your children is the grief and the anger, because your home has been devastated multiple times. And if you try to get through those too quickly, it can actually elongate the healing process even more. You're tough, and I think you try to keep a tight lid on everything. You try to keep things in order as much as you possibly can because there is so much chaos because of your husband's mental illness. So make sure that in these groups and in your individual therapy session, there is room for the tears to fall, for the anger to pour out so that you can process through that grief.
That's what I'm trying to do right now, but it's just difficult.
Of course it is.
And,
you're just trying to keep your head above water right now. So you're in survival mode.
And I think, too, one of the hardest pieces, Linda, is you had pointed out and said to us that your husband's in denial. But, I painfully have to say to you, I think that you're in some level of denial, too. You know why? Yeah. You know why? It's because you are fighting so hard to keep something that is broken together. Your husband is not on medication. And when he's not on medication, he is not healthy. If he were to be on, some of those drugs that they use, psychotropics, risperidol, and others that are for schizophrenia, for paranoia, he would probably normalize. But that's the problem. He is so much in paranoia, right, that he doesn't get on the meds. And so it throws your whole family into a tailspin. So I think...
So what happens, I'm sorry, let me just correct. What happens with my husband is he is willing to take any meds, but because of the paranoia,
yes,
he will not do any treatment.
I understand. I understand. So paranoia and schizophrenia, it's a double-edged sword. You've got to have the medication and you've got to have treatment. And if somebody isn't on the right medication and they're not in treatment, then they create havoc in their homes.
And Linda, I imagine one of the hardest things for you might be when you see some improvement in your husband or in your adult son, that there may be the tendency to let them back in because you want things fixed and you want your family together. So I also want you to make sure that you have enough healthy, supportive peers around you that can hold you to the safe boundaries for your family. For instance, your husband probably shouldn't be allowed back in the home unless he's in long-term treatment and has shown proof of remaining in treatment. So as long as he's not willing, it's probably not safe for him to be back in the home until he does that.
Okay.
Is that hard to hear?
Well, no, that's not hard to hear, and that's not new. I think what I'm still trying to figure out is so we're in treatment as far as myself and my younger children. But anything from what does a relationship look like for me and my daughter who is 15 with her dad who has told her she was responsible for her brother hitting her.
Okay.
And so she took the strong steps, and she was okay with the protective orders, but she cries herself to sleep.
Of course she does.
It's like, he's my dad and he's my brother, and I should be able to talk to them and be in relationship with them. And what I'm trying to get her to understand, and I've tried for years to get my husband to understand, is if she doesn't learn how she's supposed to be treated by the men in her life in a healthy way, she's not going to learn it. So now that domestic violence has entered into the situation, I'm like, so do I anticipate with her that, like Thanksgiving, for instance, my husband couldn't come around because of the order, but my son, the order has expired, but he came around, but she was comfortable because, in her words, was he always put on a front in front of everyone. But the smiling and acting like everything is okay, and then one of my other children constantly blames her for the family being separated, and then she blames herself. Those are the kinds of day-to-day that I'm struggling
So
through.
you say this to her. You say, honey, I know it may take you a while to eventually come to this truth, but it's not your fault. What you did wasn't a result of anything you did. You couldn't have done anything bad enough in order to welcome an assault. An assault is it's a bad thing 100% of the time. And so you have to speak truth in the home. And if she's having a hard time seeing that, she may be in her own denial, right? Because it's so hard to have to face the fact that you've been assaulted, and especially if the family keeps pinning on her. Sometimes the most honest people in families that push back, they end up getting more, I kind of put targets on them because they're the truth tellers in the home. And then they can push back and try to tell the truth, and then people get mad at them for telling the truth. But she needs to know that it's not her fault. And that may take her time to absorb it. But you need to guard her heart that way.
That's good, guarding her heart. You were looking at a book, possibly. I had a couple of mine. What are you thinking?
Well, I was looking for Safe People, which I don't think we carry here in the office, but it'd be a great book for you to look up, Linda, for your
Do we
daughter.
have The Emotionally Destructive Marriage by Leslie Vernick? I know we've offered that at times. If not, get that book. It's by Leslie Vernick. And I love Leslie's work because she talks about the difference between an emotionally disappointing marriage and an emotionally destructive marriage. And this, clearly, is emotionally destructive marriage. And God is not okay when harm is caused, when assaults happen in our home. Homes are meant to be safe places.
Linda, thank you for calling us. I would like to send you Healing as a Choice. There's 10 things to guide you towards healing and 10 lies that will help you, of Satan, that you need to overcome. And that will help too. Before we go to our next caller, we're going to take a break, but I want to remind people we have Every Man's Battle starting this Friday in Denver, Colorado. And there's still spots available. Guys, I know that there are guys listening right now that need it. And ladies, I know that you have husbands who need it. So don't be afraid to call and pick up the phone. Wonderful things happen there, whether guys want to go or not when they get there. So make it a point, call us, and sign up.
My wife asked me for the first time in 2011 if I would consider myself a sex addict, so I signed up. I'd read the Every Man's Battle book, and it was a great book, but the workshop, it was the experience that really was key for me. If they go to EMB, they're going to be in good hands. This is a safe place. They're going to be surrounded by men that simply walk the talk. The weekend leaders that they will go through this workshop with, they'll help them to get to the root of their issues. I've been through a number of well-preached sermons, listened to and read countless books, been to a number of seminars, but EMB for me was a game changer. It truly saved my life. Being in this community, being in this workshop, being around these men will change them if they'll let them. You're going to encounter men that will meet you where you're at, and you will instantly walk into a safe place where they're welcome.
If you're struggling, call us. We don't want you to go on struggling. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we're back. Sheri, you had one thing you wanted to...
I wanted to just say, to Linda and any other family that's struggling with severe mental illness, like paranoid schizophrenia, there's an association, it's called NAMI, N-A-M-I. It stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And they've got groups all over the globe. And I just want to give them a shout out. There's free services there for folks in those situations. They get it. And so that's where you want to call.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Give us a call, 800-229-3000. We still have a couple lines open. And I want to just remind folks, if you're in Club New Life, we have the video library. And if you're not in Club New Life, it's a great resource and a reason for you to consider joining. And I want to say that especially today because on Friday, we're going to be adding 2 great videos that Sheri did for us. They continue in her series on betrayal trauma, and they're going to look specifically at the issues of finances and spirituality. And lastly, before we go and talk to Rosa, we have a matching gift. If you didn't hear the opening of the show, $168,700. Be matched by December 31st. So if you're thinking of making a year-end gift, no matter what size, $10, $20, $50, $100, or $1,000 or $2, please designate it towards the match. We need to get that filled up. Okay, let's talk to Rosa. She's also a WAVA listener in Washington, D.C. Hello, Rosa. How can we help you?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, I decided to call you guys today because I really don't know what else to call or to do. I've been a Christian over 20-something years, baptized in the Holy Spirit and everything, and I fell, I backslid a few times in my walk, and the last time was this very long time, and it was the knowing that I needed to just come back to the Lord and stop what I was doing, and I was just kind of caught up in a relationship for emotional attachment reasons that, and it was hard for me to break free of that. And when I finally did, I just began to continue to seek the Lord, and I haven't really been able to. It's been about maybe 4 or 5 months so far. And when I picked up scripture, I read something in Hebrews, and it really scared me about to continue to willfully sin, there remains no more sacrifice. And it seems like whenever I read the Bible, I come across these scriptures that I had never seen before, like there's a sin that leads to death, and different things like that. And I'm not like getting, like when I backslid before and I came back to God, I would notice that kind of like my awareness of Him came back, and my path with Him, and my motivation in life, and just by His Spirit, just kind of.
So what would your question be?
My question would be, I'm stuck here and wondering whether or not it's possible that I could have lost my salvation or not. I mean, because I've always believed that once you're saved, you're always saved. I grew up in a church that way. I taught that. And I guess I'm just really afraid I'm stuck because I'm afraid that's actually a possibility.
Being stuck is not losing your salvation. Let me assure you that you haven't lost your salvation. But you probably do have some work to do to get to where you're not thinking those thoughts and feeling those thoughts. What are you ladies thinking?
Well, I want to acknowledge too, Rosa, that you're right, that the Bible talks a lot about how sin does bring about death. And even though we're saved, we all still continue sinning. And those patterns of sin, they bring about the death of relationships. They affect our physical health, our emotional health. So even though our salvation is secure, our ongoing sin patterns do negatively impact us. And we don't necessarily get away from the consequences of the sin just because we're saved. But I think what might be missing for you is acceptance from other peers who really know your struggles and who accept you and forgive you and love you, even though they know you relapse and you backslide. And I wonder if you're isolated in that, and if you don't have the opportunity to continue to share your story in those kind of safe environments where you feel God's acceptance through other people.
You have a group of ladies or a small group or anything that you're a part of?
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I was, right now I'm staying with a friend, doing a safe environment, because I was living at home with my parents just about up until a month ago. And it's always been a very dysfunctional situation there with my family. I've been like the black sheep.
How about a church? Are you part of a church?
I am part of a church. And actually, when I went back to my church, when I came back to the Lord, I talked to them about what I was going through, and I was not received the way I thought I would. I was actually treated as if I was like difficult to deal with or something, and I just think, I don't know, I didn't know what to think. And
so, Rosa, how did you get the label black sheep?
Well, my family, I've done psychology studies myself, and I'm kind of analytical like that, and I've had anxiety running inside of my mom's family. So as a result of that, I have looked into what narcissism is and all that. And both of my parents have those traits very strongly. And I was the one who got born again in my family. And
wow. So just because you came to faith and you found a God who consumed you, who you loved, and who loved you back, your family rejected you. And
well, it wasn't I wouldn't say it was directly as a result, but I guess it's the spiritual warfare that was, there's a lot kind of to it. I hear you going to break. I can wait on the other side.
Okay, you hold the line. We'll come back and wrap up this call, and we'll move on to some other calls right after this.
Most of my life I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we're back, and Rosa was struggling with some spiritual issues that are probably attached emotionally, but
yeah, so I just
Sheri?
wanted to give you a verse to add to your, this is a positive verse about God, and it's Romans 11:29, and it says, "For God's gifts and His call are irrevocable, and salvation is a gift of God." And I just want to tell you, irrevocable means it can't be given back. And so when we backslide, you know, there's something amazing about God, and we see it where Jesus said, "I'm going to go after the one sheep. Like I'll leave everyone and I'll come for you." And that's really God's heart for you, Rosa. And so, you know, our families, the dysfunctional families like you talked about, they just really mess up our minds, and they can even cause spiritual faith traumas in our hearts because we get our wires crossed in light of who they are and who God is. But I think, Alice, you said it really well, is to pursue relationships that are connecting, to get in a group of women where you can feel accepted and loved. And if it's not the church, then find a CODA group, CODA, right? Or a healing, call us. We've got groups going all over the place, right? And get in a group where you can begin to feel loved and accepted the way that your God, Jesus, loves you. And because it's true, we can't, how many times have you backslidden?
All
Alice?
the time.
I'm like, girl,
what time is it? Yeah.
I know. I think we all have histories where backsliding has been a part, and yet God continues to pursue and redeem us. And
Rosa, I want to send you Take Your Life Back Day by Day. It's a daily devotional. It'll keep you in the Word, and it'll keep you focused on doing the right things so that you're not thinking those thoughts that you're thinking now.
And we love to get connected with pastors. If churches are not well equipped to handle our brokenness, New Life loves to share material and resources to help equip the kind of pastor that doesn't know how to handle when you bring backsliding.
You know, I love that Rosa, one of her first comments in introducing the call was, "I didn't know who else to call." And that's what New Life is all about. People get stuck, people get hurt, they're in pain, they're struggling, they don't know who else to call. And if you can support that, that's why we seek your support. And right now we've got that matching gift.
And they can do it. And you know, Rosa, you're not alone. We've got people feel like they're going to overwhelm us, and it's not that way. We haven't been overwhelmed yet, really, by anybody that has come to us.
So true.
You know, we can love and care, and you're not overwhelming just because your family sent that message to you.
Okay, let's talk to Michael from Trenton, New Jersey. Listens on WFIL out of Philadelphia. Hello, Michael. How can we help you?
Hey, good morning. I agree with you on that. There was a commentary on this, Danielle Sittel, Sittel, on Google, and her 13...
Well, looks like, Michael, if you call back, or we'll take you later.
Okay.
But let's...
All right, let's...
Can we address Michael's question?
Let's see if he comes back. Okay. If he doesn't come back, we'll address it. Let's look at. Let's talk to. I don't have the name, but you're on with New Life. How can we help you?
This is Alejandro. My name is Alejandro.
Alejandro, how are you?
I'm doing well. Please forgive me if you hear any noise in the background. I stopped my truck on the side of the road because this is very important to me. like I mentioned to the young lady, I have a good friend, and he is struggling with sexual immorality. And I know what the Bible says regarding that. It's a sin against your own body. And last year I was struggling in that same fashion. And a friend of mine that's in the ministry, we have a ministry called God's Higher Calling that we call each other, and it's been going great for more than 6 years. And so my question really is that what do you do? Like, what we want to do is kind of give him like an intervention, if that makes any sense. You know, like the way they do when family comes together, loved
Yeah, we know what that is.
You know what I'm saying? And so I want to do that. I feel that the Holy Spirit is guiding us to do that. I feel that it's going to hurt before it gets better. He's going to probably say, you're judging me, and I know what the Bible says. The Bible says that, in the body of Christ, we have to judge, but we must judge in love.
Well, Alejandro, the thing that I would just encourage you with, if you do an intervention, usually there's something, the intervention makes the person take a step to do something to get the help. So just having an intervention to point out that he's sinning and having issues is not going to do anything. You need to make sure that the next step will be he's going to go into a program, he's going to get help, he's going to seek counseling, he's going to go to Every Man's Battle workshop. We've got a workshop starting this week. Why don't you just ask him to go there, get him sent there? It'd be
amazing if you took a collection among your guys, the guys' higher calling, to help get him there.
Yes.
And interventions usually go best when they're structured with a counselor, an interventionist.
That's great. That's great advice. That's great advice. It really is.
Because
and I know that this is New Life Ministry. And I just stumbled into the radio call. Actually, as I'm driving, and I said, "Wow, look at this!" This is something that I could maybe call in on. And I never do this. Like I wrote it down real quick as I'm driving, and I pulled over. And this is great advice because I went with my wife last year to the New Life up in Hershey. What is it called for couples?
The Intimacy Intensive?
No, that wasn't us.
Oh, okay.
That was probably Family Life.
Oh, okay.
It's the one that you guys do. You guys been doing forever. A Weekend to Remember.
Yeah, that's a different group. That's not us.
That's a different.
But we're glad you and your wife are connecting and all that. But back to your friend. I think so often when we spot something that somebody else has, it's in recovery worlds, they say if you spot it, you got it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that fear that you might have seeing that your friend is struggling, and that's been something that you've struggled with, causes us to overreact instead of really go after the sheep, just like Jesus did, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jesus so often in love came and spoke to people who were sinning. And that love, that truth, that care, that invitation to every man's battle is, I think, a better model for starting with, right? And if somebody continues to push away, then, you can get a professional in there, but you don't want to...
Intervention might be a little much at this stage.
Yeah, if somebody feels like there's a group of guys that are judging him and trying to take him down, he might run further away and feel more judged and hurt instead of let's start with love and invitation first.
And at Every Man's Battle, he'll be met with a no shame zone.
Yeah.
And sometimes starting one-on-one, and Alejandro sharing that you yourself have struggled with this,
bingo,
that levels the playing field, and it can lower your friend's defenses to accept the
totally
gift you want to give him.
Thank you, Alejandro, for the call. And I hope that you have success talking to your friend. I'm going to send you a copy of Every Man's Battle, and you can give that to your friend. That might be helpful as well. I want to see if Michael is back on the line. He's not back on the line. Okay, then we're going to go to Julie. Okay, I need some help. It's not clicking in. Oh, it's because she's still on with the call screener. Okay, well, let me just pitch Every Man's Battle again a little more. I can't encourage guys enough, like Alejandro's friend. they're struggling with it, and Alejandro knows he is. There is a solution, and that solution is to get help. And the way to get help is to be amongst a bunch of other men in a guided scenario, a very safe scenario. And the leaders and all the men who run the workshop have had their own issues with sexual addiction and are years successfully coming through that. So we're doing this in Denver this weekend, and it's not too late to get there from anywhere in the country. I was looking at an airfare 2 days ago to Denver, $49 on Southwest Airlines. So money's not the reason you can't go. But go there, find the help, and you're going to be with other men struggling with the same things. There will not be any shame anywhere in the weekend. And so I just can't encourage that enough. Now, I want to remind you also that we do have this matching fund. And the matching fund is for $168,700, which means your gift will be doubled, dollar for dollar. Whatever you give $5, it'll be $10. And if you like what you hear on this radio program, if you like to hear what Sheri and Alice say to people, if you like what you hear comes out of our workshops, what happens when people go see a counselor, that's what your money will help. It'll help somebody who is hurting. And I just can't say it enough. And if you would belong to a giving club, Club New Life, $30 or more a month, you get a video library available to you. And we've got hundreds of videos on there on subjects of all types. So join us at Club New Life, make a gift. We'll be right back and take another call.
She said, we need to talk. She's asked me for the first time if I would consider myself a sex addict. I thought it was just about admitting the things that I had done wrong. I never had a clue that it was about redeeming our story. I thought it was just about coming clean on what I had done. I had no idea how to help her with her pain. She was a mess, I was a mess, and we got divorced. Going to EMB, surrounding myself with these other men, they accepted me for who I was and what I had done, but they challenged me to step up and do better. They'll be around other men who are not just pointing the finger, but willing to get in and wade through it with them, get in the trenches. They'll get hope from this workshop. Take my sweet wife and my story. We were divorced, remarried, and on our way to what I think will be the sweetest years of our lives. It's no longer simply about surviving. For the first time ever, we're thriving, we're enjoying where we're at.
Hey, listen, if you're struggling, we want to see you at the workshop. Give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay in the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you a set of 4 devotionals, 100 Days of Character, Peace, Prayer, and the newly released 100 Days of Healing. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today.
Oh, before I forget, if you're buying things from Amazon.com this Christmas time, please go to smile.amazon.com. It gets you into Amazon, but when you purchase things through smile.amazon.com and you designate, when you go there, you designate a charity that you would like Amazon to donate to. And they donate a small percentage of everything that you purchase, anything at all. And so go to smile.amazon.com, name New Life Ministries, and you'll help us out. Let's go to Julie. Julie is listening on Sirius XM in Spencerville, Maryland. Hello, Julie. How can we help you?
Hi, I'm so glad that I got through to you guys, because I'm thinking, you're busy and a lot of phone calls coming in, so I was just hoping I'd get some advice from you.
Yes.
I'm basically, I'm the mother of 3. My oldest is 20, and she's been living pretty much backslidden life now for close to, well, if not 4 years. And she came to the Lord when she was just 5. She understood what it's all about, and then she got baptized when she was 11. She looked very serious about it too. But as soon as she started going to middle school, we started seeing changes. And my husband, my precious husband, you know, we went through some changes too at the same time. And he was gone for like 3 or 4 months, and that's when I noticed that she was going downhill fast. And she got sexually active, even though, you know, I told her stories. I told her, you know, God wants to keep, you know, wants you to stay pure until you get married. She understood it all, but then it was like a slap in the face. You know, I've been suffering a lot lately, and I'm listening to the girl that was on the radio like a couple times before, and she was talking about being backslidden. And I just been, you know, thinking to myself, you know, what if my daughter died? You know, she's gotten into drugs and drinking and sex outside of marriage, and it's really heartbreaking for me.
Sure it is. Sure it is. So if there was one question you wanted answered, what would that question be?
Well, I just want to know, I mean, how can she be saved and living that lifestyle? And maybe you can clarify it for me. A lot of people, Christian friends, that don't push it down her throat, and I don't. I invite her to come to church. I invite her to come and, you know, pray. She's completely ousted God from her life. And she says she's saved, and I just don't see it. And I don't know how I can tell any different. You know, maybe you can help me understand better.
We'll see. Alice, why don't you start us off?
Oh, Julie, we hear your tears and how terrifying to watch your daughter engage in these behaviors and probably feel fairly powerless to do anything about it.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
And you, and you worry about her.
Sorry.
You worry about her salvation. Tell me, what's the nature of your relationship with her now? Is she still living with you folks? Is she still in contact with you?
Yes, she still lives here. And her dad and I, we're to our wits' end. I mean, we're just, you know, wondering what we should do. And we tell her when we're gone, you know, on a little vacation, because she can't come because she has a job. At least she has a job where she's very dedicated to, which is very odd because, you know, she's kind of lazy and she doesn't want to work there anymore. She hates it. And I just, I think I'm starting to see a turnaround because a lot of us are praying for her, but not to the degree that she's going to stop seeing the guy that's, you know, pretty much living the same kind of lifestyle. He's supported by his mother and grandmother, and he's living in their house, and it's like, you know, how are we
Julie, I'm going to step in because prayer is always appropriate, and concern for the state of her relationship with God, that's fine to be in prayer about that and concern for that. And I think some of the additional answers to drug use and alcohol use have to do with the boundaries that you begin to set up and the resources that you limit as long as she's continuing the substance use and perhaps not getting any treatment for it. And because she lives in your home still, you actually have a lot of leverage that way in being able to influence her to make choices to get the help that she needs if she wants to continue to enjoy the privilege of living with you folks. Now, making those kind of moves don't feel loving at all because they're very tough to set those boundaries in place. And usually our adult child gets pretty angry with us when we start talking that way. But sometimes that's exactly what they need to eventually wake up and make different choices in their life.
Hey, Julie, why did your husband leave?
Well, it wasn't necessarily out of a choice. He committed what they say was a crime. He borrowed money that he couldn't pay back, and the man didn't want, you know, the man he owed didn't want money back. So they said, you got to go to jail for 3 or 4 months. and then he was in so he was gone for 3 or 4 months, and unfortunately I told my oldest what had happened because her godmother says you need to tell her the truth, and that's when I noticed a huge change in Jamie. She said, "You mean my dad's in jail?" And I started noticing, just a downhill spiral about not caring about things as much as she used to. So that had a big impact on her.
Of course it did. And so that was a trauma for her.
Yes.
And because she, before then, saw her dad in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, to know that my dad is in jail, I imagine she attached some shame to that. It would not be uncommon for somebody to feel shame that my dad had to go to jail for a period of time. And if the family is minimizing that, making light of that, hasn't really gone into treatment as a family to get honest about that, she might be trying to numb out through drugs and sex and alcohol in order to take the pain away.
Yes, yeah. And I've told her, I've talked to her, I've apologized. Her dad and I had gone to celebrate recovery for many years. And she just, it just seems like she gets better, and then all of a sudden she gets a lot worse, like the last few weeks, a lot worse. Likes to watch stuff, and I told her, okay, this is smoking here in our house is not acceptable anymore. We've told you this for years. We want you to quit. No more watching dirty.
Okay, Julie, we're going to run out of time here, so I just
okay. I'm sorry.
So I want you and your husband to go to Al-Anon. I appreciate you guys are in Celebrate Recovery, but I want you guys to go to Al-Anon because there's a group of people there that'll help encourage you and support you in your role, right? In dealing with somebody who's struggling with addictions.
And Julie, they're going to help you. They're going to help you learn how to back your words up with action, because you've been trying to set up these good, healthy rules, but it may be a lot of words and a lot of reminders. So our adult children can learn that they don't necessarily have to take our words seriously if there's not a loss if they continue the behavior. And Al-Anon will help you learn how to put that into action.
And I want Alice used a word that's really important, I think, and that is that you can influence your daughter, but she is an adult and she's going to make her own decisions, and you need to do what you can to influence it. But you come to a point where you have to accept that you're not the one that can save her. She's going to have to take steps and accept some willingness and do some things. But do what you can to influence her. Do the Al-Anon. Pray. There's a lot you can do. But just know that there comes a point when your adult kids are really out of our hands, and that's hard.
And even safe-proofing your home, right? I mean, she's watching dirty movies. She just shared that. You put blocks on the internet, or you shut the internet down. You just make your home safe and provide a model that way.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.